Hi there everybody, Dave here from Hey You Guys, and this time I am joined by the wonderful Stefanovic Papovic
Hello there.
and the awesome Skotovic I can't say it. Scott Davis! Hey!
Hello. Yeah, keep it simple. Come on
Whoop,
now.
whoop. Yeah, I should just do that. I don't know why I do. And today we are going to be talking about King Arthur, Legend of the Sword. And to kick us off, Stefan is going to tell us all about what it's about. Go, Stefan.
Right, cool. Okay, Charlie Hunnam plays King Arthur, and he's raised on the streets of Londinium, because that's obviously what London was called in medieval Guy Ritchie land. He's sort of raised in a kind of local brothel, and he's a bit of a kind of local handyman and gets stuff done, and has absolutely no awareness that he is actually attached to royalty. So there's as the kind of legend goes, there's the sword in the stone, and the sword once belonged to his father, played by Eric Bana, and every single man in the whole kind of city are trying to pull out this sword in the stone, because whoever does pull it out means they must be the offspring to Uther, because if they are, and that means they possess magical powers, which means his uncle Vertorgan, played by Jude Law, wants to kill him to get those powers. So Jude Law has to find out who this person is first before he kills him, basically. And he rocks up as Arthur, thinking, this will just be a little laugh. And then he pulls the sword from the stone. The next thing you know, he has to galvanise the people and begin a rebellion against this horrible dictator, and also save his life. That's the story, really.
You must have written all those names down, right? Or were you reading them off IMDb? Because there's no way that you can remember all those names.
I remembered Arthur, and I remembered Vertonghen, because it sounds a bit like Tottenham Hotspur player Jan Vertonghen, so that stuck in my mind.
Brilliant. I like
That's
it.
literally the only reason, yeah.
And this movie came out in America last weekend, I believe. And Scott, it didn't do very well, did it?
No, it kind of tanked. It was a strange weekend to release it, because it's this big kind of almost laddish movie, if you like, and it came out on the equivalent of Mother's Day weekend in the States. So it kind of dug its own grave in many regards. Obviously, it opened against Guardians of the Galaxy, but also against something like Snatched, which is more kind of female orientated. And it tanked. And I mean, the reviews, just looking at Rotten Tomatoes now, it's like at 27% on Rotten Tomatoes, which, the controversy around what Rotten Tomatoes means these days is a bit thing. But yeah, the reviews weren't very good, and I think it opened to about $14 million. And for a film that cost reportedly at least $150 million, if not more, with production budget on top of that, with promotional budget on top of that as well, it's sunk without trace, unfortunately. And yeah, I think reading into it, it looks like they were trying to set up, as everyone seems to do these days, some sort of sequel / universe around King Arthur. But I think sadly that's dead on arrival, I think.
And does it deserve more than 27%?
No, I think 27% is about right. I think that's the general consensus, is that because me and you, Dave, were in a screening that was quite packed with critics, and the murmurs out of when we came out of the screening were pretty much identical. There wasn't many people, apart from one maybe, who remain nameless, but
they never. Person, I didn't actually say they liked. They didn't say they liked it. They said it was all. No, what were the words? It was something like it was all right. It wasn't that you hated it. It was just that it was yeah.
It's all right. You should stick that on the poster.
Yeah.
That's exactly what it is. Just loads. Like they put posters sometimes when they just put like lots of brilliance and lots of excellence. It would just be lots of all rights and lots of meh. Yeah. It's all right. It's not awful. I mean, this is not a complete and utter train wreck. As I've seen worse films than this, but it's not
There's
great.
Another poster quote for you.
Yeah, I've seen worse films than this.
Seen worse. But yeah, it's not good. It's a bit of a misstep for Guy Ritchie, and it continues my kind of hate with him, in the sense that I haven't really enjoyed many of his movies over the years, and this one didn't really change my opinion. I mean, you got to give him credit for the fact that he tried to do something very big and very action packed and loads of CGI, and tried to make quite an immersive experience, but it just doesn't work.
So the film opens with a mysterious tower on fire, and then it swiftly moves into sort of a flashback, I guess, with Eric Bana as King Arthur's father, whose name I can't remember, but Stefan's all over it. And Ufa Doofa. Yeah, and that bit I quite liked that bit, and then the credits start popping up. And it tells you so when the names of who's in the film start coming up, as in any film, suddenly there's like prompts of where they are built into. So it says Londinium inside the same sort of. It's a different text, but also before that, some text pops up which you could hardly read. It was things like that, like attention to detail, that I just think was lacking somewhat, and it was all a little bit messy. Stefan, what do you think? You gave it 2 stars, didn't you, on the site?
Yeah, I did. I just thought that it was. I mean, had it been by another filmmaker, I think I would have been praising how kind of unique it was and what it was trying to do. Because Guy Ritchie's kind of sensibilities as a filmmaker were completely stamped all over this. I mean, that quite sort of frenetic editing and that kind of fast-paced dialogue. It's like, all right, there's a bloody dragon over there, you shag, you know, all that sort of stuff. And it all kind of, it sort of felt quite unique. It was quite a kind
but
of.
Those bits were good. There's about two. Is there maybe 3 of those moments where there's
Yeah,
that
like
sort
when
of
he's-
banter back and forth, and those at the edits is brilliant, and it's proper. Like, yes, we want more of this, and then it goes back to the run-of-the-mill, you know, trying to would-be action movie that really just sort of doesn't fulfill what you want it to.
Yeah, I sort of agree with that, and I felt that he just, I don't know. I think he's trying to emulate and mimic his own style, which is why it didn't sit right with me. I think it was, like I said, if it was a new filmmaker trying this quite a different approach to this kind of subgenre, I think it would have worked. I thought it might not have worked necessarily, but I just think I would have been praising it for being quite original. But Guy Ritchie isn't original when he does that style. He's kind of he's sort of gone, well, that worked for me 20 years ago, so if I do it again, I might get the same success. It's a bit like if Oasis released another Britpop album. It just feels like they're just trying to kind of, it's almost going, well, that made us really successful 20 odd years ago.
I'd buy it, mate. I'd buy it.
I'd probably buy it, actually, to be fair. But no, I don't know. I just felt that it's. I quite like the way that fantasy is injected into this kind of medieval setting, that kind of, because it's quite gritty. There's lots of sex and violence, a bit of, but the Game of Thrones obviously shows that. But there's always this kind of fantastical side to it, and I quite like that whole aspect. But it was just so silly, and I think some people might be able to get on board with it. Some people might go along with the ride and think this is quite inane but quite enjoyable sort of fun. But I think the more cynical film goer, or just most film goers in general, will probably just go, this is just absurd. And it just didn't quite work. I thought the whole style and the story and the look of it all just felt a bit messy. I think you're right.
And there's a random cameo in it, isn't there, Scott?
Oh, the cameo. I mean, my goodness. Of all the cameos in all the worlds.
There he is.
Mr.
Look,
Mr. David Beckham, who many will know as a footballer.
Slash model,
doing a
perfume
Vinnie
dude,
Jones for Guy Ritchie, being, I don't know, what is he, some sort of keeper of the sword or something? Both hands on it, mate. Both hands on it. Yeah, it's quite a bad cameo, but you know, credit to him that he at least had a go. You know, Vinnie Jones had a go, and now he's making really bad action movies.
Vinnie Jones it's Lockstock, isn't it? Vinnie Jones in Lockstock is amazing.
He was pretty good. Yeah, it was the same with
Well, Brad Pitt's
wasn't
in.
when Stefan was in one of them, wasn't he? Like a MMA fight,
he's
something
in
at the time.
Lockstock as well, isn't he?
He was a swimmer.
Oh yeah, he was,
Olympic
swimmer. That's
swimmer.
right. Yeah. So maybe we'll see. Maybe David Beckham will be headlining the movie in 5 years.
Well, Vinnie
after
Jones
this
can play him. I was going to say Vinnie Jones can play himself, and that in itself is quite an entertaining screen presence. But Beckham can't really play himself on screen. He actually has to act. Vinnie Jones doesn't have to act because he's such an over-the-top personality that he can just turn up and be Vinnie Jones for the day. And you write characters like that. Whereas David Beckham can't turn up and be David Beckham in medieval Britain. He's got to turn up and actually act as a character, and I think that's probably where the shortcomings derive from. The acting
Vinnie Jones
part.
was Snatch. I know he was in Lockstock and Snatch. I thought he was. But when did he do? He did Gone in 60 Seconds as well. But what year was that?
About 2000, 2001.
Yes, spot on. So he did Lockstock first in '98. Then it was Gone in 60 Seconds 2000 and Snatch in 2000 as well. And then his actual movie career was quite prominent, I guess. And then it maybe
he was in Swordfish, and he was in
after,
X-Men: The Last Stand as well as the Juggernaut. B word.
And Garfield 2.
Garfield 2. There you go.
Yeah, this film wasn't all bad. I quite liked the weird octopus people thing in the water. That was very clever, I thought. Some of the CG in this film was exceptional, although a lot of it felt like they nicked some of it from Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, there was very Lord of the Rings stuff in. I mean, the opening, as you say, that tower just looks like Sauron completely from the beginning. But I quite like, the big elephants and stuff. There was that, and then there's echoes of Game of Thrones, as Stefan said, and also Warcraft, which was out last year. Which was really bad, was really, really bad. But yeah, the kind of the darker elements of King Arthur were actually the bits same as you. I quite enjoyed those bits, particularly the stuff, as you say, with the octopus women and all that kind of stuff. That was quite, the more sinister aspects of it were quite good. But I agree with Stefan. I think, tone, it looks like there's kind of two movies in this. Is Guy Ritchie trying to be Guy Ritchie and do his stuff, but also I was reading beforehand that in the studio have been trying to make this movie for like 6-7 years, so they obviously maybe said
this a long time ago as well, didn't they?
Yeah, with all this stuff, make sure it kind of looks like Game of Thrones and looks like Lord of the Rings, because that will get people into the cinema. But yeah, it's kind of all over the place. But those bits and some good CGI. Although, to be fair, there was a scene towards the end when he's fighting with a sword that was kind of Matrix Revolutions bad CGI. But at the beginning, that's where the interesting stuff kind of happens.
So 27% sounds like an about right score.
I think Charlie Hunnam was quite good. I think that I quite liked. I think I put in my review as well that I thought that having him slightly older worked quite well, because obviously Charlie Hunnam is not too far off 40, and usually when you get your big hero in a movie like this, they're kind of 21, 22 years old. And I thought it was nice that you get that kind of sense of, I don't know, having someone who's been around the block a little bit and has nothing to lose. And I think that served the character quite well in this instance, better than some sort of young kind of opportunist sort of thief or something who finds out he could be a hero. I think I thought that worked, and I thought the performance was fine. I thought the villain was where the film didn't work so well as well, because I thought, nothing against Jude Law's performance, I just thought the character just seemed very defeatable. And I think that whenever you have a movie like this, the main kind of antagonist should always be completely formidable and seem like it's impossible to ever overcome them. And I never really ever doubted that King Arthur was going to come out on top. It always felt like it was quite I don't know, not an easy endeavour, but I didn't feel like the stakes were particularly high, and I didn't feel like the dramatic kind of core of the film was very strong. So performances were quite good. It was just the story really that let this down. It was just the story and the writing, really, those two things, but they're not usually that important.
you can make quite a classic film with dreadful writing. So that's our thoughts on King Arthur. The movie is out on Friday the 19th of May in the UK, and it's already out in America. Do let us know once you've seen it what you think of it. If you loved it, let us know. Is it classic Guy Ritchie? Did it let you down? As always, you can follow all our social bits and bobs on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram and YouTube, and we look forward to seeing you on the next one. Take care. Bye.
Bye.
Goodbye.
You two need to work on your bye-byes.
Ladies and gentlemen, you're watching Hey You Guys!
Hey You Guys, huh?
Hey, you guys.
Is that from the Goonies?
It is indeed, yeah.
Nice.
Hey, you guys.